Hey, it's Matty at mixandmastermysong.com. Today is episode number 2 of our Deconstructing the Mix series. I'm going to be working on Sammy Adams' song Remember off his album The Long Way. And today we're going to be going over the rhythm section stuff, the drums and the bass. I'll show you all the effects, any compression, and EQs I was using. I did a ton of parallel compression on this song just to make the drums really bang hard. So you'll see a bunch of that stuff and just some of the treatment we used on the bass to make that thump as well. So hopefully this video is helpful for you guys. Let's jump in and check it out. So today is going to be the drum video. I'd like to say just maybe drum video because there's not much bass in the song, but a ton of drums. So we'll kind of jump right in here and I can start showing you what happened here. Just a little backstory is when I first got the song, it came with the normal amount of drums that I had. And we mixed it, I mixed it and I sent it to the guys and they loved the mix, but we felt like the drums still weren't hitting hard enough. So another producer, I believe, redid drums or added more drums to what we had. And so then we added those drums and I basically remixed the whole song again. The song was a real pain and you know what. But it came out great and that's all that matters in the end. So I'll show you, what we'll do is go through kind of the first stack of drums and then I'll show you what was added and try to give you a picture of what happened here. It's kind of a mess the way it all ended up, but you'll see what the deal is and what we got going on. So hopping right in, I guess the best way to explain it is the yellow tracks are the first set of drums I got. So up here is a bunch of blue tracks, which are the second set. You can see they're the Rick drums. Shout out to Rick. And then the yellow ones are the original drums. So these are all the originals right here. So we'll go through those first and then we can add to it the backup drums we got. So the other complicated part of this song is the drums were broken down into 2 sets. So there was kind of like 2 different drum patterns. The verse section and then the chorus section. So we got our kicks here. This is the kick for the chorus, snare for the chorus, and then the kick for the verse, another kick. There was 2 kicks for the verse, and then this looks like the blue because it was added. I probably was just trying to make sure they lined up with the snare, but the yellow would be the snare for the verse, another snare for the verse, and this is some parallel compression I put with this snare. I'll go through these effects. I'm just kind of trying to map everything out for you. Another snare, so that's what, 3 snares now just for the verse section. This is the dirty snare. Play it here. So this snare does like a pattern within the snare that kind of makes the whole thing move. Like I felt this dirty snare was really important. So you have that going. And then just some basic cymbal stuff, reverse cymbal down here. Another little cymbal and some snare roll at the end, probably going from the bridge. Open hi-hat, and then the big claps, so you have the verse and then the build-up, which is here. So we're just moving along, and then here's the build-up. Let's go. And it breaks down. So just there, you see how much more stuff comes in on that drop there. And then it goes in to the chorus here. And this was part of the problem we ended up having problems with is it almost felt like the verse was bigger than the chorus drums. And that's never what you want. So that was part of the reason we added some more stuff. But basically, just to go through these first, just so you can get a quick view of some of the effects. On everything, I used the virtual channel, which I mentioned in the first video, just to get that sound. And then a lot of times on the original track, so the kick track, right? I won't do much. I like to try to keep the sound that the producer was going for and not try to imprint too much of my own thing. Like this, with this 1073 EQ clone, it does a little bit, goes a long way. So I just boosted a little bit of the high end, probably just to get a little more tap. And here we actually cut back some 80 hertz. And this was probably, there was a lot of issues getting everything to sit right in this mix with the low end. And that's probably all I was doing there. But then I'll go and parallel compress this. So a lot, right? And then EQ, we get a bunch of a boost. Look how big this is boosting the low end to make it really thump. But this is an old trick called the Bob Powell trick, and that really helps drums, kick drums, punch through. And then we got the snare, same thing, just a regular channel. Boosted a little bit of with 80 hertz here, just probably to get some thickness. And then the same thing, parallel compression, but on the snare I use the API, a couple dB at 10 and a couple dB at 200, just to thicken this stuff up. That's what parallel compression does for me, is help thicken drums up. Then the verse kick, here we used the VMR. I don't know why I always kind of do 2 VMRs, just what I do. Here on this kick, we cut a little 3K and boosted some low end. So basically what that shows you is that's our low end kick, and this is probably going to be our high end. So what we're doing was we were trying to get this kick to get out of the way of this kick, and then if we look at the EQ here, it's probably, we're cutting a bunch of the 400 to let this kick come through on this kick. I know this is kind of hard to explain, but basically just this was our thumb kick, and you can see it boost a bunch of low with this lift. And on this one, this was our high end kick, and we just got rid of some of the low mids. It didn't really need to boost anything in the highs because it was pretty tappy already. And then it's getting parallel compressed here. And you can see we cut a little more low highs out of that one, just because it was probably cutting through too much. This is a timbali clap that Rick added, so we had another one of those. The snare, which sounded awesome, didn't need to do anything to it. Did parallel it with 1176 this time. You can see that compressor just comes up just enough time to hit again. And some would be like, why didn't you have it fast? Well, because I didn't want all the tail to come jumping back up. I like the way the release was. API, same thing. You'll notice this is usually kind of what I'm doing on parallels, snares, the API. This was an AMS reverb that I think I demoed, and I didn't have the money to buy, so I just recorded it. Nothing wrong with doing that. And I think it's just the snare. Yep. And then the next one, here we got, is another snare. Didn't do anything to that. Sounded good. A clap. Boosted a little bit of the 7. That was it. Real light stuff. A lot of these drums always sound good, and I don't want to take away from the mix. So the only stuff I'm going to be doing is stuff that makes it a little bit better. Here, these were a little jumpy, and I wanted them just to kind of punch in the front of the mix a little more, so I compressed them a touch. And then we didn't really do anything here. Might have started to and just left it on. Those sounded great. Hi-hats, nothing. Oh, a little EQ. This is kind of cool. Let's see what we did here. So, hear that? Hope you can hear it at home, but there was an annoying sound in there. So, what you can do is, especially with the Pro Q, is just notch it out and take it out and it's gone. I don't know why I had this through the Blue Cat. Must have been using something else, and then I ended up using this and didn't just use the one I already have in Pro Tools, but whatever. So yeah, we notched that frequency out of that hi-hat. Cowbell, nothing, I'm sure. Who needs to EQ a cowbell? Big claps, so many drums, right? Boosted some 7, And probably all the same with the 7. And I'm not going to go through all these little hi-hats and rolls. Didn't do anything. You can see a little compression here. Probably just it built up a little too fast. So we had all those. And so we'll put all those together. And so that sounded pretty good, but it wasn't enough. So then Rick got us more drums because we needed to make this hook sound better. So then one more thing too, we added this 808. And you'll hear that 808 really low. It's because once the music comes in, there was just some Junos that were just messing us all up. So I ended up doing a ton of treatment to this. I crushed this 808 down and distorted it a bunch. Got some of the sub and then the fatso. I use with the tranny. It's really cool sound. It gives a little harmonic distortion and it just helps that 808 cut through, but without taking so much of the low end frequency area. And then so Rick added these claps. And look how much bigger that sounds, right? Crash, some effects. And then the riser to help our build. This looks like it ended up being nothing. More claps. Now you hear how big that's getting, right? So this was to help build the kick. So there's nothing wrong with using other sounds. Taiyako, it's some weird like Japanese drum. We threw it in there. And then Rick also had some verb he used. So he sent me his verb bus and he parallel compressed this stuff a couple times. It's interesting to see what happened here. So this was I think this sound was sticking out weird or something, or wasn't matching, and so I ended up having to go in and chop that note out. I think we wanted that kick not to be there or something. It was an extra kick that wasn't in the original drum, so I chopped those out. And then we got just a little oomph kick. So these were all parallel compressions that he had as well. And then we added, or Rick added this tom sound in with that hook pattern too, just to give us some more low end. So that's why you see a lot of notching going on with the 808s and all that, was to just make room for this low end to be big, but not just take over like it was. So we'll play this. And the drums are huge now, right? All these to make that. So then all those drums are going here, and then also the new drums are going here. And I use this UBK parallel compressor, which is awesome. Makes things huge. And then the EQ. And then, like I said earlier, this compressor isn't doing a whole lot. Just a little bit to pull everything together. And that's basically it for the drums and bass. So like I said, there wasn't a whole lot of bass, just this 808. There is some bass kind of sounds in the music, which we'll go over in the next video, the music video. But most of it was just all drums. And I'll show you how some of this stuff was interacting with the drums in a negative way in the next video. So if you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Leave any comments or questions you got. I know this is kind of a lot of stuff to go over the drums. This was the hardest part of this mix. Just trying to get these drums right. But I hope more so than just seeing the mix stuff, this illustrates like what can go into like building a song to sound great. I mean, this is a lot of drums. This is like 40 tracks of drums. This is crazy. But like, that's what this song needed. So never be afraid to add more to make it sound better. But also don't add stuff just because you think it will make it better if there's a bunch of stuff. I get a lot of songs sometimes. People just add stuff and it takes away where, you know, some songs you could take half the stuff away and it would be better. So it's really just about putting the right stuff in the right place. So like I said, hope you enjoyed the video. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks.